heard them saying, we did it, we did it, we did it. And over here it was like, poor thing, she died believing all that.
Uh-huh.
So the one will not be aware of the other ones. It's like in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, when they talk about the new heaven and the new earth, one is left and one is taken. It's that like a concept.
I understand. Okay.
So the old earth are the negativity, the ones who are steeped in negativity and karma. Their vibrations cannot change fast enough for them to go. But they said it's okay. They're where they're supposed to be. But as our vibrations move with the earth, when it separates is when it comes apart. But we're coming to that time, but it can't be sudden. Now 2012 is what they're always talking about. They said that date is not definite. That is when it's like a culmination, when the energy reaches a culmination, like a plateau. And at that time, if the energy increases, it will force the earth to move into the other one. But it doesn't mean that is the end of it. It's definitely not the end of the earth, it's the end of civilization as we know it. You'll begin to notice some big changes. But they said, it won't happen all of a sudden, it'll be subtle.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to say, things look a little different. Things don't feel the same anymore as they did on the other part. But as the two moves apart, but that is what happens between the two. So it's a little hard to understand. There is a definite separation. And when I was telling that in a lecture, this one man came up to me afterwards and he said, now I'm a businessman. I've never had this happen to me before. But I've got to tell you what happened when I listened to you describe this vision. He said, all of a sudden the auditorium disappeared. I was out in space and I saw it just exactly the way you said. So he said, I'm going to go home and make a computer drawing of what you said, and I'll send it to you. Just don't tell anyone where you got it. And I put it in my book. We have the color one at home.
Okay.
And the new earth is slightly over the old earth, and it's glowing, where the old earth is different. And it's hard for people to get the concept of the idea, but they're definitely two separate things.
So this information comes to you from a variety of the clients that you deal with, isn't that
I work
right?
with thousands and thousands of people.
And each time they are talking about this process, isn't that right? I mean, you're
When it
getting
comes out
multiple
in the therapy that I
testimony.
work, because I ask so many questions. And I think it has more validity when I get the same information coming from many people that have no idea what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I ask a little more questions each time to try to fill in the blanks.
Yes.
But it comes through many, many people. A piece here and a piece there, and then I have to put it all together like a puzzle. But, so I keep wanting to clarify it. I want more information to find out. But they said it's never happened before. We don't know what's going to happen. But you may tell some of the symptoms of the body that the people are experiencing.
Okay.
Because even the client I just had, they were saying, don't worry about these symptoms. They're normal. But people go running to the doctors. And when they start, people think they're getting ill. But it only lasts for a few days or so, and then it'll even off. Okay, some of the symptoms they've experienced is high blood pressure, heart palpitations. That's a big one because they think they're having a heart attack. But it's the irregular beating of the heart. Also, depression, dizziness, headaches, body aches and pains. I think those are most of them, but they sometimes go from one to the other. They go to the doctor can't find anything wrong with them.
Well, familiar with the work of Barbara Marciniak?
Yes, I know her very well.
Okay. And she has a book in which she, in essence, was communicated through by the Pleiadians.
Yeah, I knew she had the older books. I didn't know if she made doing
Bringers
anymore.
of the Dawn, I think it is.
Yeah, that was her first book.
One of her
20 years ago.
Yes, quite a long time ago. But nonetheless, they were talking about this transition time.
Well, whenever, we are in and out of dimensions all the time. We don't realize it, but we do go from one to the other as we shift back and forth. It's natural, but that's not a bleed through.
Okay.
We have to keep the dimensions separate, especially there are civilizations on these other dimensions. There are people living there that we don't realize. There are smaller dimensions, but these are the bigger ones we're talking about. And I don't see how they can bleed through or how they can merge. That wouldn't make sense with what I've been told.
Okay.
But then I don't have all the information. That'd be good questions to ask.
Now, what about your own life? In other words, can you describe what they kind of coin you as having a certain job, a certain mission from their point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, when I started with this, they wanted to know if I wanted to do it. This 25 years ago, especially when I got in with the ETs and things. And they wanted to know, they said, do you want protection as you work? And I said, yeah, I can take all the protection I want. So they said, all right, if you're not supposed to go somewhere, you won't be allowed to go out the front door. We'll take care of you. And then they said, as you volunteer to do this work, we'll keep you healthy. And all along, every time they come through, different individuals, they'll say, we will keep you infused with the life force as long as you want to stay in the body and do the work. Because they said I was very important to get the information out. Because I have such a curiosity, I want to know everything. So they wanted to give me as much information as they could. And they keep giving me more and more as a convoluted universe comes along, the series. Because every time I think I've got it all, they give me another concept, another theory that I haven't heard of before. But they say we can't know it all. It's absolutely impossible. It's our human brain. It's the mind, not the brain. They said, because the human mind has no concepts to understand these things. So I always say, well, give me as much as you can. In analogies, examples. So they said, we will try, but it's a poor example. But at least we get a little bit about what's going on.
So can you talk about any concepts that you've heard recently that are maybe the most wild
Oh, they're getting wilder and wilder.
What would be an example?
Let me tell you a little bit about, you talk about the three waves and the energy of these pure beings coming in. When they first come into the fetus, they said the energy of the mother has to be adapted to bring the energy in. And so sometimes because of the difference in the energy of the mother with the incoming energy, that it'll mean the baby will abort or they'll have a miscarriage because the energy doesn't match. So they have to keep trying. So then they will bring in a little more to adapt it. They don't bring in the full energy of that spirit because they found out it will harm it. So as they come in, as they grow, as they become a child and get a little older, a little more of the energy will be brought into the body. And I've talked to people that end up being this kind of a person, and they'll say, yes, my mother had several miscarriages before they were born. They had to adapt the body. So some of the, what we call abductions, are when they take the person on board the craft to put a little more of the energy into the body. It's time to receive more. It's working on the body to adapt it to handle this soul, this energy that's in there. I think that's important for people to know. It does not a negative thing.
Yes. Okay. I understand. So, is there anything else that you would like to talk about in terms of the future? So, you must have a pretty positive view of the future.
That's what I mean. Don't forget, you create your reality. You create everything in your life. You can't blame anybody else. If you don't like what you have in your life, you can uncreate it.
Yes.
That's the important thing.
And I think that's a very important
So if you want to live in a positive, beautiful world, that is your reality. If you want to live in the world where everything negative is happening, that's your reality. You have a choice.
Okay.
But they did say in order to go, if you're going to go with the new earth, there's two things you have to do that are very important to help change your vibration. The first thing you're going to have to do is get rid of karma. Karma is what holds you to the old earth. You've got to get rid of the karma out of your life. Well, that means you're going to have to forgive and release it and let it go. It doesn't matter if you came from a bad home where your parents treated you horribly. Let it go. It doesn't matter if you've had a bad husband. Let it go and release it.
Okay, we're off.
This project was very important. They didn't know if it was going to work or not. But now they said with the critical mass, that was the idea, get enough new souls in here to create a critical mass to swing the odds. They think now we've done it. We've got enough people here, the new souls coming in, the new children, that we can do it. We can pull it off and we can save the earth.
Okay.
And that's why we're going to move on. But now these ones are definitely going to go because this is what they came in to do. The rest of us, if we want to go with them, we have to get rid of the karma, because the karma is what holds you to the old earth. And we want to get away from the old earth. You don't want to stay with all the negativity and the catastrophes. So you want to move away from that. You have to get rid of the karma. It just holds you. Karma is a law. You have to do it. It have to goes around, comes around. You have to come back again and complete it again if you don't do it now. So in order to get rid of the karma, you've got to forgive. It doesn't matter if you had a bad life. It doesn't matter if you had parents that treated you badly. You learned the lesson. It doesn't matter if you have a horrible husband. You've got to let it go. You've got to release it. The way to do it is release it and forgive them and let it go. And they say, how can I forgive them? You don't know what they did to me. But you have to do it if you want to move into the new earth. So you have to do this, even if they have died. You do it on a mental level. I forgive you, I release you, I let you go. Then you have to forgive yourself, which is also not easy. Those two very important things. You have to get rid of the karma if you're going to go. Then you have to get rid of fear. Fear will hold you back. It will hold you